Hey folks, this is Dr. K, and we're going to create a very small NetBeans project that uses a Java servlet. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm in NetBeans now. I'm going to create a new project, and I got to choose a Java web and then web application. Hit next. I want to change the name of this to timestamp. Next, it's using Glassfish server. That's what I want. Next, and I'm not going to use any frameworks. Okay, there's my project, and as you can see, when I run this, the Glassfish server starts up. The name is a timestamp here. This is the port for the Glassfish server, and I'm hosting it. The local host is my machine, and Glassfish runs on port 8080, and the project's path is timestamp. And since there's no resource listed here, it defaults to index.html. Okay, let's go back and look at NetBeans. All right, there's the title of that HTML page, and there is the body of that HTML page. This is indeed index.html, and if we open this up and look at web pages, we see that it is right there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a Java servlet. So we're going to click New Servlet. And we're going to call it timestamp servlet. And over here, I'm going to click this box that says Add information to deployment descriptor web XML. That's going to create a deployment descriptor so that the directory timestamp servlet, basically there's that URL pattern, okay, so that when I type in this timestamp servlet after my timestamp directory, it's going to execute this servlet. Okay, so I'm going to go and finish that. All right, and you can see that the default servlet already comes with a bunch of stuff. Let me just double click on this. It extends HTTP servlet, okay, and I get this method process request. Now what's actually process request? That takes a request and a response. Well, process request is called by two other methods here. It's called by doGet, which handles GET requests, HTTP GET requests, and it's also called by doPost, which handles POST requests. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to get rid of this doPost. We don't need get servlet info. I'm going to get rid of that. Put the bracket back there. And for doGet, since it basically just calls this process request, I'm going to copy the code from this process request. Let's see, where do I want to stop? It looks like there. I'm going to cut that code, and instead of calling this, I'm just going to paste that code right in there. And then I'm going to delete process requests. Okay, now I've got a doGet method in my timestamp servlet, and that's all I have. All right. So now let's go ahead and go back to our browser. And one of the nice things about when you're doing web applications, once you start running something and then you change something in NetBeans, you can just reload, and it will reload everything, and those changes will take effect. This is just the index.html page, so nothing is going on there. But when I put timestamp servlet in this address bar, and you can see I've already put it into my browser, so I'm just going to go click on that. Now it says HTTP status 404 not found, so we have to figure out why that's doing that. So let's go back to our NetBeans IDE, and let's make sure that that is the correct name. And notice it is not the correct name. I called it timestamp servlet, which I don't want to do. So let me see if I can refactor that. Timestamp and apply rename on comments. Sure. I'm going to refactor that, and I'm not 100% sure this will work, but let's go ahead and try that now. And it still says not found. Okay, you can see I hit the refresh button, and I suspect that is because when I refactored that, it did not update the deployment descriptor, which is that web XML file I talked about. So let me go ahead and take a look at that, and sure enough, the deployment descriptor is full of timestamp servlets. Okay, and that kind of tells you that the deployment descriptor is really what tells you where to go. Okay, when you're working with servlets and JSPs. Okay, so I'm going to make all these timestamp, and it looks like it actually did change this one, because that is the class. So probably if I would have typed in timestamp servlet, which is the URL it's expecting, it would have worked. But it should be timestamp servlet anyway. So let's go ahead and save that. Let's look at our local host. This is timestamp servlet. Reload that, and there we go. It gives me the timestamp servlet. Now this timestamp servlet is not necessarily doing anything interesting. It might as well just be a static page, because all it's telling me is servlet timestamp servlet at /timestamp. Okay, I wanted to do something even just a little bit interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it report the date and the time right there. So every time I refresh this, it will report a new time. So let's see if we can get that to work. All I really have to do here is go into this timestamp servlet, and here's where that main header is. Okay, and underneath that main header, I'm going to put header 2 date, and then I'm going to use Java 8's local date class, and I'm going to say now. That means that'll give me today's date, and I want to finish the tag there. Save that. Well, that's the date, and I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to get the time here. I want to say local time. Now, and it did not automatically bring that in. Let me see if I can get it to automatically bring that in like it automatically brought in date. If I put the dot there and then use now, yeah, it'll automatically bring that in. That's a nice little feature. Okay, and you can see that the Glassfish server is basically updating what is deployed here as I save this stuff. So that's pretty nice. So let's now go back to the web page. And now I've got the date and I've got the time. And if I refresh again, let's see, 2046:42. And it updates. Okay, so that's telling me the time on the server, which happens to be this machine, localhost. Okay, so let's see. Anything else that we need to know here? Let's just refresh our memory. This index HTML, it's not really doing anything. Let me just do one extra thing here. Let me just say get timestamp from, and I'm going to do a href to put a link in here. And the link, I believe, is going to be /timestamp. Okay, which is the directory for this project, and then I have to go into timestamp servlet. Okay, and I'm just going to put that same exact thing here, timestamp slash time stamp servlet. Okay, I'm going to save that. Go back to my web page. Let's see. And here's my index HTML page. I hit the back button, so hopefully it's just giving me what was cached. So I'm going to refresh. And there's my refresh, and I get that link. And now I'm going to the timestamp servlet. Okay, so do that project. Take a look at the files here and make sure you understand what's going on. An important thing is that this web XML, which is the deployment descriptor, is a special file that essentially, when it sees this URL pattern, okay, it calls this servlet, the timestamp servlet. And the timestamp servlet right here corresponds to this class, timestamp servlet. Okay. Note that this should all still work if we just put in something like timestamp here as a name and timestamp here as a name. Okay, it should still see this URL. This is just an identifier for the timestamp servlet. Naturally, this is not best practice. Best practice would be to use the servlet name there, but the point is that this should work here. So if I refresh this, it updates the time. All right, and likewise, this is the main thing. This timestamp servlet needs to be the right name. If I would just say /servlet here, and then save that, and then go here. If I refresh this page and I give you about 5 seconds, can you think what might happen? Will it give me the page, or will it give me some kind of an error? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it starting from now. Okay, let's try it. All right, well, I got it right. That's what I expected. It says that the page is not found. That's because the page, the URL, is no longer timestamp servlet. It's just servlet. So I'm hoping that if I get rid of this and then hit enter, it should give me that timestamp page. And there it is. All right, so you can see how important that deployment descriptor is. And the other thing to notice is that timestamp servlet, that is in the source packages directory. Okay, so the web pages go under the web pages directory, which is actually called web. You can kind of see the highlight there. And the source packages directory is actually called source if you go and look in your directory structure. Okay, at least I think it is. It is on the Mac, and I assume it is on Windows also. Okay, so this timestamp servlet.java, that is a Java file. Okay, that is a Java file, and basically it's creating this print writer, and it's just printing out every single line of the HTML here, which obviously you don't want to build your applications that way. That is incredibly tedious. All right, and that is why we use Java server pages, which we'll talk about in another tutorial. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. I'll see you in the next tutorial.